My boss thinks I care more about his deadline than the love of my life. My husband Jay had just fallen into a medically induced coma. I was sitting in the ICU holding his hand when my boss Walter texted me. Heard about the accident, but Jay is the one in the hospital, not you. I expect you at the Sullivan client presentation tomorrow at 9. Don't let your personal life affect your professional commitments. I stared at the message in disbelief. Jay had eaten an unwashed strawberry straight from the packet 3 weeks earlier. A slug crawled over it and carried a parasite that traveled to his brain. The doctors didn't know if he'd ever wake up. I texted Walter back that I was using my emergency family leave. He responded, "That's for parents and children. Spouses don't qualify. See you tomorrow." The next morning, my phone rang at 8:45 a.m. Walter. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again and again, 14 times in 20 minutes. Finally, a text. "Your absence has been noted. The Sullivan account is now at risk. I hope your husband's nap was worth your career." 2 days later, Jay's doctors told me they needed to perform emergency surgery to relieve pressure on his brain. I was signing consent forms when I heard someone say my name. Walter was standing in the ICU doorway in a 3-piece suit, holding a laptop bag. "Since you won't come to the office, I brought the office to you." He walked right past the nurse's station like he owned the place. "The Sullivan presentation needs revisions. I printed the deck so you can review it while you wait." I stared at him. "My husband might die on that operating table. Then you'll have plenty of free time after, won't you?" A nurse finally escorted him out, but he left the presentation folder on Jay's empty bed. I filed a complaint with HR the next morning. Priscilla Vance, our HR director, called me back that afternoon. She said she understood my frustration, but Walter was actually trying to help me. "He's advocating for you," she said. "The Sullivan account is worth $2 million. If it falls through because of your absence, the company will have grounds to terminate you. Walter is trying to prevent that." She suggested I work remotely from the hospital. "Jay's in a coma," I said. "It's not like he needs you to be present and conscious, right? You can answer emails while sitting with him. Multitask." I hung up on her. 3 days later, Jay was out of surgery but still unconscious. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a time in over a week. I was in the hospital cafeteria getting coffee when I checked my email. There was a message from Walter marked urgent. "Your continued absence has resulted in the loss of the Sullivan account. Per company policy, employees responsible for account losses exceeding $500K are subject to immediate review. HR will be in contact regarding next steps." The next day, I got a termination letter. "Due to extended unauthorized absence and failure to meet critical client obligations, your employment has been terminated effective immediately. Your benefits will end in 48 hours. I was sitting next to my comatose husband, reading that I was about to lose our health insurance. The insurance that was paying for his ICU bed, his brain surgery, his ventilator. I called Priscilla sobbing. "Please, my husband will die without this insurance. Please." She said her hands were tied. The termination was already processed, but she could offer me COBRA continuation at $1,800 a month. "Given your situation, you might also want to look into Medicaid." That night, I couldn't stop shaking. My mother-in-law Sally found me hyperventilating in the hospital bathroom. She sat me down, gave me water, and asked me to tell her everything from the beginning. I showed her every text, every email, every voicemail. She didn't say a word until I finished. Then she picked up her phone and made one call. The next morning, a man in a gray suit showed up at my hospital room. He introduced himself as Douglas Keller, Sally's best friend's husband, employment attorney, exposed 3 Fortune 500 companies for labor violations. I told him my story in 15 minutes. He recorded everything. When I finished, he literally started laughing, clutching his stomach. I used to dream of cases like this. Walter's denial was illegal. The termination was illegal. And cutting your insurance while your husband is on life support? He shook his head. I haven't seen a slam dunk of evidence like this since the Diddy case. By noon, he had filed an emergency injunction to reinstate my insurance. By 3 p.m., he had drafted a lawsuit for wrongful termination, insurance fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. At 4:40, I walked into my office building with Douglas by my side. We went directly to the 3rd floor conference room where Walter was presenting to 12 senior managers. Douglas opened the door without knocking. Walter stopped mid-sentence. "Excuse me, we're in a meeting." He saw me. His face flickered. "Security will escort you out. You don't work here anymore." Douglas walked straight up to Walter and handed him the papers in front of everyone. Walter looked down at the first page. The room went silent. His face went white. He looked at me, then back at the number. $3.2 million. "This is, you can't." "I can," I said, "and I am." I walked out without another word. 12 senior managers watched me go. By end of day, he was fired, and I was rehired with a $250,000 compensation if I agreed to not sue. 3 weeks later, Jay woke up. Did I miss anything? I laughed for the first time in a month. "I'll fill you in later."